You know, because you hear this, like when the sun starts to go to the north again, then it's actually auspicious. You know, the Uttarayan, or it's called the winter solstice in America. So you know, it says that the Bhagavad Gita says those who leave their bodies before that time stay in the material world, and those who leave their bodies after that time go back to Godhead. It's not quite so simple like that. I mean, yes, there are auspicious times for leaving the body. However, if one is a Vaishnava, those auspicious or so-called inauspicious times have nothing to do with anything. And people are very ritualistic. So this devotee, my disciple, she asked, because your mother left her body before December 22nd, does it mean she has to come back and stay in the material world? And I said, no, it doesn't mean anything, because she was hearing the holy names. But in any case, my realization is that she's taken birth amongst devotees. Not that she's gone back to Godhead, because to go back to Godhead, the prerequisite is that one has to have no other desires other than to please Krishna. You know, it's a big prerequisite. And yavi lashita shunyam yana karma navartam anukul yena Krishna shilanam bhakti rutavam. So it's not that you simply cross your T's and dot your I's properly and you go back to Godhead. It's not like that. It's not ritual. We're not followers of karma mimamsa or ritualistic type of understanding. Ritualistic understanding means you just do everything externally and then you're going to get a good result. And Krishna's bound. The philosophy is, and I don't agree with it, the philosophy is that Krishna is bound to give you your results if you do everything properly. But that's not true. Krishna says, Bhaktimam avijanati yavanyas chasmi tadvataha. That Krishna is controlled only by devotion, not by karma, not by actions. So one may be acting perfectly according to the rules of bhakti, but not internally perfectly, then one's result will be very minimal. So, but then sometimes if one's acting perfectly internally and making mistakes externally, then he gets the full results. Like there's that story about the devotee who was so much in love with Krishna, experiencing what we call the bhavas or emotions, that this devotee didn't notice that when he was peeling the bananas, he was offering the banana peel to Krishna. And then, but the person went back to Godhead. Because even, you know, you can't think of doing something more imperfectly than offering a banana peel to Krishna. Can you imagine you go to the altar and on the deity's plate is a banana peel? That would be ridiculous. That'd be probably an offense. I'd probably get angry if someone did that. But that person went back to Godhead because that person had devotion. So the real thing is from the heart. Of course, we try to do things externally as far as possible, following the rituals. But, you know, Krishna says, Ananyas chintayo tomam yejana paripasate tesham nityabhayuktamam yabhikshema vahamyaham. He says that those who are dedicated to me, even if they're lacking something, I preserve what they lack. I carry what they lack, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So we have to remember that. So the whole point is bhakti, to love Krishna and try to do the best. And even though we're imperfect, every endeavor, Krishna says, is covered by some sort of fault, just like fire is covered by smoke. So one should not neglect serving Krishna or doing his duty, his or her duty. So, anyway, so many people passed away. So the whole idea is ante narayana smriti, to remember Krishna at the time of death. Yam yam papi smaran bhavam yajate anti kalebram tam tam vivayita kontaya siddhartha bhava bhavata. That's the whole point, to remember Krishna. Always, not only at the time of death. Don't be like a Jamil. It's not a good proposal, because you may not get that particular benediction of crying out for Narayan at the time of death. But, you know, try to remember Krishna always. The first rule is to always remember Krishna. The second rule is always to never forget Krishna. And everything else is subservient to those two rules. Anyway, so we have initiation. Tomorrow we're going to have a fire sacrifice, so you should come to the fire sacrifice too. But by the mercy of Ujjwala, I'm here today, even though I was planning on just staying in the snow and sledding all day long. She reminded me of my Dharma. No, I was actually walking to Chanting Japa in the snow.
You were walking in the snow, Prabhu Maharaj?
Yeah.
See, it's not that cool.
And Chanting Japa, why not? I mean, not barefoot.
That's next level.
You can see I have a nice shirt here and everything like that. It keeps me warm, a nice jacket, nice long underwear. It's not a problem.
But Maharaj, it's not very safe. Sometimes this,
Slipping.
yeah.
I'm very careful. I was brought up in New York. And actually, one of the things we did in New York during this time of the year was skiing. Skiing going down the mountains. So I'm sort of accustomed to this sort of stuff. But I'm careful. But anyway, so by the mercy of Ujjwala Vaistagya, what's that?
Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada.
Mercy of Srila Prabhupada Maharaj.
I'm here today by the pushing of Ujjwala
Sorry.
Vaistagya.
It's our fortune, Maharaj.
I'm here today, and no, I'm very happy to be here. Very happy to be here and serving Krishna here. Krishna is very kind to always engage me in the service. And we're going to have an initiation, so I guess I should chant on beads,
Everything ready for you.
Got everything ready. Maybe we'll have the initiation lecture, and also we'll give an initiation lecture tomorrow, so we're going to do a rather short lecture today. So, Om Ganat Tivirandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigare Maha. I'm offering my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So people ask, what is the purpose of initiation? Why do you have to get initiated? And why can't I just chant Hare Krishna without getting initiated? And that's an interesting question. What is initiation actually? And we're talking about first initiation now. Prabhupada, and we pretty much established this principle of Harinam initiation. It's interesting that previously there wasn't a Harinam initiation. People actually were just given beads and had some name or something like that. And chanting the Hare Krishna mantra previously was done before the second initiation, and the chanting was considered what the Purascharya. That means what happens before. But Prabhupada established. You recording this, or someone's recording?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
recording.
yes.
So Prabhupada established this principle of Harinam initiation, which is really important. And it sort of stresses the ultimate importance of chanting the Lord's holy names. Because sometimes, if you just have this Gayatri initiation, then it may tend towards a minimization in people's minds of the importance of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Because the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is all you really need to go back to Godhead. You don't need anything else. You don't need the Gayatri mantras. You don't need anything except for chanting. It's the Ekon Dharma, Krishna Nama Sankirtan. In Kali Yuga, it's a Dharma. Kali Kalera Dharma, Krishna Nama Sankirtan. Krishna Shakti Nahi, Tari Pravartana. Krishna Varna Tvisa Krishna Sango Pandasya Parshanam Yagyayi Sankirtana Praryaya Vijantihi Sumedasa. So that's really all you have to do. So therefore, I think Prabhupada established that, really following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vedic literatures, to really emphasize to all of us the importance of chanting above all other things. And you'll find that many of the brahmanas in India, they don't understand the importance of chanting. You know, the so-called ritualistic brahmanas, the caste brahmanas, and, you know, they'll chant their Gayatri mantras, but they won't chant the holy names, which are much more important. So, but why have a ceremony? The question arises, why have a ceremony? Why not just like chant Hare Krishna? Because also it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra doesn't wait for initiation. Actually, everybody could chant. It's not that I'm going out to the university in North Carolina State, and we're trying to get people to chant, we're giving people beats to chant on. We're not asking them to take initiation because, God forbid, they wouldn't be able to follow any regulator principles. No, they would follow maybe one or two regulator principles. I mean, there's a lot that are vegetarians and a lot that don't gamble. Maybe they invest in bitcoins or something like that, but they don't gamble. So there's a lot of students who don't gamble, but as far as the other students at the university, it's I've sadly discovered that most universities are like a party schools. Maybe not so much the Centennial campus.
No, Centennial has no party.
No party, but the other campus, you know, I get up in the morning to chant my japa, and it's basically, sometimes I have to step over the students when I'm walking to chant japa. Not in the place where I live, I just have my own place. But if I walk on the street, take a morning walk. So, but still we get them to chant. So people can chant without initiation, and they're certainly contacting Krishna. Krishna's there in his holy name. However, why should we have initiation? Well, initiation is important because one is making a promise before Krishna. It's like the same question, why should there be marriage? You know, why can't people just live together? Well, the reason is that people need to make commitments. Nowadays, at least in America, and it's getting more so in India, that people don't even make commitments in personal relationships anymore. And one of my disciples in India, he's from Delhi, he's actually a graduate of IIT, a very nice young man. He was, in the past, he was looking for a wife. He has a wife now, don't worry. Not looking for anyone here. So anyway, so he was looking for a wife, and he said, I don't want to marry anyone from Delhi. I said, why not? Must be some nice girls. She said, no. No nice girls in Delhi. I said, what? He says, it's just like America. So, and finally he found a nice girl from Punjab. Nice Punjabi girl to marry. And actually she's very nice, very, very nice girl. Be married. And I'm doing a project to go around with him. Right on the Parikama path, really nice. So, because he works for the government now, graduate of IIT Delhi. That's pretty big,
Yeah.
IIT Delhi. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So people don't make commitments, and without a commitment, there's no seriousness of a relationship. And I asked this to many of the students at the university because, you know, there's a lot of this boy-girl stuff. Specifically, I asked the girls, I said, do you think your boyfriend is going to make a commitment? And she said, I'm afraid to ask him. So we can't talk about stuff like that. And in my mind, that's like exploitation, isn't it? That, you know, people just exploiting each other. Because when you don't have commitments in relationship, it's no longer a service, it's no longer a relationship, it's just people using each other. Like there's a saying in English, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. You know, it's a business.
Yeah.
It's business. Just like if I go to buy a car, I give them money, they give me the car. It's not a relationship. It's business. So when you don't have a commitment, which means, generally commitment means ceremonies, promises, and things like that, then there's no relationship, or very little. So it's the same thing with the holy name and Krishna. Because before you have a ceremony, or take initiation, so to speak, even with the Harinam initiation, then you don't really feel committed. Oh, I can chant, I can not chant. You know, it's just nice chanting. But when you take initiation, a lot goes along with that initiation. Maybe we should talk about this tomorrow too. And not just like, hey, I'm initiated, get a nice spiritual name, etc. I can fit in with the club. Like in the university, they have these fraternities.
Yeah, Gamma Delta.
Yeah. Some of them are actually academic fraternities. Most of them are party fraternities. And they're pretty bad. I mean, when I went to the university, I never joined a fraternity, but I went through Rush Week. You know, Rush Week, where they introduce you to all the fraternities, and it was pretty bad. I mean, even then, when I went to the university, it was bad. They'd advertise their wild parties and everything like that. So getting initiated is not like you join the Hare Krishna club, you get your spiritual name, you know, I've gone through Rush Week, you know, I've gone through initiation. You know, when one joins a fraternity, they give you through really rough initiations there. Some of them are real bad, like drinking a keg of beer or something like that. You heard about that before?
I've heard of it.
It's pretty bad. But Krishna consciousness, so it doesn't mean you become like a card-carrying member of the Republican Party or Democratic Party or whatever it is. It actually means a commitment, and a lifetime commitment. So when you make a commitment to Krishna, like Krishna says, what yeta mam prapajante tam sataiva bhajami amama varmana bhartante manusha partha sarvasha. Krishna says, I reciprocate with everybody. You know, Prabhupada translated, everyone follows my path in all respects, but literally the verse means that I reciprocate with people the way they reciprocate with me. So when you make a commitment to Krishna, Krishna makes a commitment to you, which is kind of nice. Like Krishna says, for those who say, from this day forward, I'm yours, I accept them as mine. You understand? Like when you accept Krishna as yours, as the goal of life, and not only Krishna, but you know, in addition to Krishna, you accept like Prabhupada's mission. If you take initiation of the Krishna conscious movement, you accept Prabhupada's mission as your focal point of service. I mean, your whole life becomes, that's your goal, that's everything. I mean, you do everything else perfectly. Everything else should be done perfectly. That's another point I wanted to make. That a devotee, even if one's a devotee, it doesn't mean that you neglect ordinary dealings. Like there's the story of Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, just act perfectly as a householder. Don't act foolishly, you know, because there's this tendency when one first starts Krishna consciousness just to like drop everything else and say Krishna Govinda, which is kind of nice, but which I did anyways. Of course, I didn't have any other commitments, so it wasn't a problem. But there's a tendency to drop everything else, but then one doesn't look towards the future. One is thinking emotionally about the present. Of course, that's the mental platform. In the mental platform, you accept and reject things based upon what's pleasing and what's displeasing. Krishna consciousness is called Buddhi Yoga, which means function on the intelligence platform, which means to consider something called Preya rather than Shreya. Shreya means technically, you know, immediate things that sound really good to me. And Preya means long-term goal, which is actually Krishna consciousness. So, therefore, it's very important to act perfectly in society too, because people will judge the Krishna conscious movement by how its members act in society, you know, responsibly, honest. Like Prabhupada said, the quality of his devotees is that those devotees are perfect gentlemen and perfect ladies. That means they act perfectly in society. They don't act like crazy people. Although in the beginning days of the movement, unfortunately, a lot of us acted a little crazy. And then you even find books about how crazy we were in the Hare Krishna movement in the early days, and then sometimes you're preaching to someone in the university and they read some of the reports about how crazy it was in the beginning days. Like when Prabhupada left the planet in 77, then we were all like 23, 24 years old. It was pretty crazy. I mean, when Prabhupada was on the planet, he was the only adult in the Hare Krishna movement. It's like having college students in charge of a major religious movement. When Prabhupada left, it's like having college students be gurus. Can you imagine? Like 27, 28-year-old gurus sitting on a vyasana. I mean, I'm just getting into it now and I'm 72. Just understanding the seriousness. At 72, going on 73. So anyway, so it's very important to understand the commitment being made at initiation. I mean, it's a lifetime commitment, but it has to be done with balance. With balance. Yes, one has to take care of their family. Husband and wife should serve each other and take care of each other. And in all relationships, in all different relationships, there's differences of opinion. So even, you may have a difference of opinion with Krishna. Which, like, it's not that I like everything Krishna does. When Krishna left Vrindavan, left the poor gopis there, I didn't like that. Isn't it? When Ram sent Sita away, did you like that? No. It's not that I have to agree with everything Krishna does. No, I understand esoterically why he does it. I know the philosophy. But still, I just don't like it that Ram sent Sita away. I mean, can you imagine just because some washerman was saying something, sending your wife away? Can you imagine if a washerman started to talk about his wife and he said, okay, Melina, you have to go. You have to go to the woods even though it's snowing. Can you imagine that? And actually, any relationship, there's always going to be differences of opinion. But the whole idea is to be committed to working it out, to staying with the relationship. Even described, even Gandhi, he had some arguments with his wife, right? So, but they were committed. That's the point. So anyway, so one should be committed in their ordinary relationships too, not just in a relationship with Krishna. It's really a holistic thing to be Krishna conscious. Be very, very committed. Like I was committed with my relationship with my mother, determined to help her. Now, unfortunately, I was at the other side of the world when she was going to leave her body. I didn't know that she was going to leave her body. I was told that she was going to still have at least several months. The doctor said that. But I was committed, so I immediately did the right thing. I sent a devotee up to be with her, Tulsi. And Tulsi arrived there and lay next to my mother, was chanting in her ear, playing a tape of me. And then within an hour and a half, my mother left her body, hearing the holy names and having the sacred water, Tulsi leaving her mouth. So I couldn't, and people say, oh, condolences. I said, she achieved victory. I did the best thing for my mother, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I wish every mother could leave their bodies like that. So we're committed. Yes, we're spiritual. Yes, we're not the bodies. I understand all that. But at the same time, we have to integrate ourselves into society and be practical in society and understand what's best long term, not just today, not just tomorrow, not just the next 5 years or 10 years, but long term. And I find oftentimes devotees in general, they don't consider that. And sometimes there's social disruption because of that. Even I see, like, even sometimes in ISKCON, people stay brahmacharis too long, and then by the time they realize they want to get married, they're 45 years old. It's kind of hard. And then, and then sometimes when they're 60 years old, they have no support system. And they go back to ISKCON, and ISKCON's not set up, we're not set up to support 10 million brahmacharis who didn't get married. It's not a practical thing, So one has to think like that. Raising a family, all these things have to be done so responsibly. Prabhupada wanted the society, not just brahmacharis, renounced people, probably wanted a whole society of people working together. Varnashram, brahmacharis, grahastas, vanaprasthas, sannyasis. It's a cooperative society. So anyway, it's important. So anyway, getting back to initiation. Initiation means the commitment, and one sticks with one's commitments and promises no matter what, whether they're initiation commitments, whether it's a marriage commitment, whether it's a social commitment, whether it's a parental commitment, whether it's a business commitment, because in Kali Yuga, the principle of truthfulness is diminishing, and we should be always sticking with our commitments. We make a commitment, we stick with it. Like Grandfather Beachman. Of course, Grandfather Beachman was stuck a little bit too much with his commitments. I understand. He shouldn't have remained silent when Draupadi was being disrobed. That's certain times, when you got an extreme circumstance like that, then you can break your promises. But only in super, super, super extreme circumstances like that. So anyway, that's the purpose of initiation, a commitment. I mean, there's ceremonies, there's fire, there's mantras, which are nice, but the whole point is a promise. That's the essence of a marriage, the essence of initiation is a promise. Krishna, from this day forward, I'm yours. I belong to you, Krishna. And then one gets their spiritual name, and neck beads, which represent, as Prabhupada said, dog collar. Did you know that? Prabhupada said neck beads represent dog collar, because you become Krishna's dog. And we all get the name Das, which in Bengal is actually a lower class name,
Servant.
You mean servant, yeah. In Bengal, if you have the name Das, your servant is, better you have than, some Brahminical name like Trivedi. Oh, that's South India. Gupta or something like that. Doctor. That's a doctor. Gupta. Better you have some other, nice name. But if you get Das, that means servant. So we get this name, Das. Even my name is Krishna Das Goswami. So I'm a servant. And so we should never forget that we're servants. We're not the masters. We're not the enjoyers of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is the servant. And I remember this as a guru, that I'm doing this as a service for my guru, who's doing his service for his guru, ultimately for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and for Rama Krishna, and Lord Nityananda, and all the incarnations too, Lord Nrsimhadev too, Bhagawan Nrsimhadev. So that's the initiation lecture. So what do we do now? I should chant on the beads?
Yeah.
I know I got the beads. What about the neck beads?
Yeah, I can.
Well, you're supposed to offer the neck beads to the deities.
Does it already offered? No.
They're not offered. They're offered to the deities. Okay, so we'll chant on these beads. They're big beads. You sure these aren't too big?
That's what I asked her. She said they're fine.
Okay, you're not gonna get tired twisting these beads?
My original was this big.
Bigger.
So bigger the beats, more the concentration will be.
No. My original beads that I gave Gurudev, it was like, the biggest one was almost big as my thumb.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm gonna get tired chanting on these.
You can't chant on
Yeah,
those.
you can.
You can't chant on those on a regular basis. Well, if you can chant on these are fine. You see, mine are quite a bit smaller.
Mm-hmm.
My beads are actually from Radha Kund.
Wow.
These are special Radha Kund rough beads. I like them because they're rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're rough cut beads. And I had to, as you see, I had to fix a lot of them with wood filler
Yeah.
because they crack.
I do the same.
So that you should oil them too.
Yeah.
But but I really like these rough cut beads myself. All right, so we will chant. We'll chant around. And of course, we'll have the fire sacrifice tomorrow, so I guess I'll give you your name today, but everything is official today. And I saw Prabhupada give initiation. Actually, the first time I met Prabhupada, he gave initiation, not to me the first day, but sitting on his bed at 11 o'clock at night, just dressed in a gamcha. He gave initiation to devotees. Because he was leaving the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a short visit. All right, maybe we can all chant, and I'll chant softly, but you can all try to chant the holy name yourself, just to keep the auspicious atmosphere. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna. Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Radha Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna 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 Radha Krishna Krishna Radha
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha
Krishna, Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Radha
Krishna.
Hare Krishna 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 Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha
Krishna,
Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna Krishna Radha Krishna Krishna Radha Hare Krishna 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 Radha
Okay.
Krishna
Wait till I get something. That's right. So you don't want to see the name giving?
Oh, fine.
Let's see, I have. One, two, three.
Should I do the next beats first?
Yeah. Did you offer them already?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. You recording or are you online?
No, I'm recording.
Just recording. Yeah, I want to get a copy of this, if it's possible.
Of course.
Hare Krishna 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 Radha Krishna 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 Radha Hare Krishna 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 Radha Krishna Krishna Radha
Alright, so you get, alright, so I guess we should do the whole thing with the four regulative principles. You know, usually we don't, with people from a higher class, we don't have to go through all the four regulative principles. I know you're following them. You know, just, it's kind of an insult sometimes. Isn't it? I mean, with Americans, yes, you gotta go through it. And you gotta really be really specific.
I remember you were trying to do this with Sudevi Gopi
Yeah.
mother's
Yeah.
initiation, and the way you handled were like, you don't need anything, take the weeds. I'm like, that's very appropriate.
Yeah, because I mean, there's one standard for people who have been breaking the regular principles their whole lives. And there's another standard for people who've been following the regulated principles. It's interesting in Fiji, because it's mostly the Indian population there, but there's certain regulated principles we have to stress on first of all, there's a lot of meat eating because when people leave India, sometimes they get into eating not beef, but chicken. They go murgi wallas. Anyway, they get into eating chicken. So I have to stress on that regulated principle. And the other one is that in Fiji, that the local people from India, especially, they take this intoxicant called kava,
Kava.
and it's become part of their Hindu rituals.
Oh, no, not Hindi ritual, but then
There it is.
there
In
it is.
Fiji.
It actually becomes part of it. Like if you have a funeral, you have to have kava or nobody comes to the funeral. And if you have at the mandalis, Ramayan mandalis, after they recite the Ramayan, then all the men sit down, not the women, but the men all sit down, they take kava and they stay awake the whole night. You've heard of that before?
Yeah, there's some groups in India. They are it's kind of another form of intoxication.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nerve relaxant,
Yeah,
and it's become part of their ritual.
there's some part of in North India, especially in Banaras and those people.
Really?
They consume something that keeps him awake. It's kind of
That's kava. It's just like kava.
They have bhang also.
Oh,
Oh,
bhang.
that's
That's
different.
offered to
Bhang is
That's a
Shiva,
different.
different
and then they
thing.
take it as Mahaprasad. You get high the whole night.
Yeah, I mean,
name of God, everything is accepted.
Everything is accepted.
one time I was circumambulating a temple to Lord Shiva, and in the back of the temple they were taking not bhang, but they were taking what's that called? Concentrated marijuana, whatever it's called. I forget the name.
Ganja.
No, not ganja. It was like it's when you scrape off the leaves and you get the real concentrated stuff. So they were all these sadhus, and they said to me, "Oh, here's Mahaprasad, Maharaj." And I didn't want to offend them, so I just said, "There's a courtesy." I said, "Any other day, just right now, I'm taking certain vows." Mahaprasad, so there's so many weird things people get into,
I know. They just add some justification to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like justifying. So, intoxication, anyway, so we don't have to mention any of the regular principles because you've been vegetarian since birth, right?
No.
No?
No. So many.
No funny.
Oh, no, you be honest, yeah.
Yeah. No, she
Okay.
was not
No, no,
vegetarian.
used to, but
She
not
was
later.
only eating non-veg at some
Till
point.
20 years I ate because I was born in such family.
Okay,
Then I
Fish.
realized no, everything.
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 Not beef, though.
No,
No, not beef.
I'm from the same family,
Yeah.
or kind of similar family. I never ate any non-veg.
okay.
Wow,
Because
so you're better, much better.
he's
Yeah.
pious from the past.
You're
life.
pious.
So when he's eating, he's eating.
That.
I-
All right, so we have to bring ours, so no beef fish or eggs. Wow. It's pious never to have eaten. I personally gave all that up when I was 16 years old. 16, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I realized, this is before I was exposed to Krishna consciousness, I realized that if you wanted to be a human being, you couldn't be harming other living entities like that. I mean, I just realized that. And one time I saw my brother caught a fish, and I felt so bad because the fish was going like this.
Bashing for its life.
And I actually took the fish and put him in the sink and tried to bring him back to life. And it didn't work. So that sort of impressed me, and I told my mother, I said, I'm not eating any more meat. And she got really upset, of course. So, but that's really important. I mean, these are principles, regulated principles of freedom. So we have to remember that. So anyway, so I guess that's the one regulated principle. No bitcoins. No, bitcoins are all right. Whatever. You have to be liberal nowadays. So, so that's the one regulated principle. The other ones you're already following. So, and of course, you're faithful to your husband, and you're not taking bong. So you get the beads with your right hand. So your name now is Shama Kishori Devi Dasi.
Haribo!
Shama Kishori. It's the name of Radharani. You know, what's that?
Husband. For the husband.
For the husband.
Yeah.
And
And
your
this
name
is
is
for the-
husband.
For the daughter. Maharaj, for the daughter.
Your name is daughter. So, that's a nice name, Shama Kishori.
So what should I call her, Maharaj?
Shama Kishori.
Shama Kishori, but usually people just say the first thing.
Oh, Shama.
Shama, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's good. When both names are actually Krishna conscious, it's good. But sometimes you give people the name like Kamsa Hanta, or the killer of Kamsa. And then people say,
Only comes up.
Kamsa. You know, that's really not so good. Kamsa. And there's other names too like that, where you have the demon go first. Yeah. Keshi Hanta. Keshi Hanta. Or it must be a name with Ravana too.
Yeah.
Ravana.
Ravana
Taskara.
Ravana Taskara, yeah. So you just call him Ravan, you know. So, Shama Kishore is a nice name.
Yeah.
So, congratulations. So, what next?
I'm unable to think, Maharaj. Prasad for you.
A little prasad. Tora Tora.
Yeah, Toda.
Is it
Very lotus fruit. What?
SHA or SHYA?
S-Y, well, S-H, but actually, with the Sanskrit is
Yes, yes.
S-Y-A-M. A, long A at the end.
Shyamala.
No, Shama.
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 Shama Kishore.
Kishori.
Because if it was Shama, then it would be Krishna.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is the problem, Maharaj.
Yeah.
However, does the spelling matters?
Yeah.
Name only is right.
No,
the
the
spelling
spelling
matters
matters.
and how you pronounce it matters too.
It has
Because
to
it
be
could mean
proper
something
pronunciation.
completely different.
Sita,
Like-
Sita. Words.
Like we have the Maha Mantra, we have the word Rama refers to Lord Ram, Balaram, and Radharaman. But if you say Rama, that refers to Lakshmi,
Matters.
isn't it? Rama,
Rama Devi.
Rama Devi. That's Lakshmi, or Rama. And to most people, it sounds exactly the same. Unless their ears are acute, they won't hear the difference. But you know, spelling is really important. Even one of our prayers in the morning, the second of the Gurvashika prayers, Maha Prabhu Nritya, it's Nritya Gita. Most devotees pronounce it as Nitya Gita. It's Nritya, Nritya. Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita. It's not Nitya Gita.
No, Nitya?
No.
Dancing? It's not dancing?
Nritya. Yeah, Nritya.
Nitya.
Nritya. But most devotees pronounce it as Nitya.
Oh, Nitya.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
Maybe we should eat
Not
downstairs
THY.
because it's not for the babies. Okay, here's your bead bag. Okay,